Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining. Wanted to talk a little bit about Athena. This is an amazing setup, and I had to do an update on this. So Athena, we're on the 4-hour time frame, and I'm using the TradingView history, which is called crypto. Love this. It's a really cool hack that they do. It's one of the very few ways to get entire histories of altcoins. So great little hack. Wanted to share that. Let's dig in here. There's so much goodness, and I want to just share with you why I am excited. So I'm drawing this, looks like a rectangle, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but within that rectangle, there is also this inverse head and shoulders pattern that I'm seeing, which also tells me that this is, in fact, the bottom for Athena. So for all of you bag holders out there, this really is an amazing setup. So let's first things first though. So here's what I did. I'm highlighting this inverse head and shoulders pattern. And a couple things to call out. First of all, these inverse head and shoulders patterns, here's the left shoulder. Just think of somebody literally upside down. So here's the person's left shoulder, their head, and then their right shoulder. And this is literally, if you're familiar with pattern recognition, inverse head and shoulders patterns are number one. And the hundreds patterns that currently exist out there. Not only that, we've got price action that went range bound within this rectangle format, and this is also a bullish pattern. This is typically a continuation pattern. This is a textbook stage one, and then right here we had a nice little breakout of this horizontal breakout for the rectangle, and we came back down here, did a pullback or a retest. And now we are on our way, and this is basically stage two, because this is like a textbook stage one, and then we've got this really in the mid-early stages of stage two. And I'll share with you here in a few minutes where I think price is ultimately going as we enter into the early part of 2025. And by the way, the price action that I'm talking about here is really for the first 6 months of 2025, nothing too long term. So what I did was this black line, I just did a horizontal black line because this was the all-time high back in April-ish of 2024, and I just extended this all the way to the right. This is a neckline, and this is very important here in a few minutes, especially when price action hits this neckline, and more importantly, when price gets above it. So let's just check some strength real quick by just looking at some moving averages. But remember, these are 4-hour candles. I'm going to do a multi-time frame environment here in a second. And this is what I mean. So I've got my moving averages. So I'm going to highlight the weeklies. And again, these are weekly moving averages with 4-hour candles. And you can see right here, this is the EMA 9, the weekly EMA 9, and we had a nice bullish crossover of that weekly EMA 9 of the EMA 20. So I like this a lot. So we've got price action above the largest of the moving averages in terms of weekly, daily, and the smaller time frames. But now I'm going to get rid of those, and let's look at the dailies. I'm going to pull this apart a little bit, see what we got cooking in here. So we'll start down here. So again, these are the dailies. So here's the SMA 200, the 100, which I like, and we had a nice bullish crossover of the 100 up through the 200, so that's nice. And then if you can see this, it's a little faint. We've got the SMA 50 and then the EMA 55. The EMA 55 looks like it's going to be passing up through the SMA 50, which is bullish. So I like that price is above this daily SMA 50. And then we've got the daily EMA 9 and the 20, and I like this right here where that EMA 9 came up through the 20 for a bullish crossover. And I'd say at this point right now, my only real risk is it's a reversion to the mean per se, but this is short term, is the distance from these moving averages. The farther away price gets, it's going to want to revert back to it eventually. And you can see that over here as an example, but I won't get into that. I like this a lot from a strength standpoint. Let's get rid of those and let's just put on this is nice. So what I did is, again, we're on the 4-hour candles, and now I just put on the 4-hour moving averages. So I'm zooming in here. So again, 4-hour candles, 4-hour moving averages, but let's start down here. So we've got the 100 below the 200, but we've got the 100. Looks like it's about ready to head upwards up through the 200, which is bullish, which we need. Then also, this is nice. I know it's yellow, but this green line right here is the SMA 50. And if you see right here, it came up through the bigger moving averages. Love that. Then we've got the EMA 50 where it needs to be, the EMA 20, and then we've got the EMA 9. Now, price has fallen a little bit below that, but I'm okay with that. We just need to get from the reversion to the mean that I was alluding to. So it's always nice to see price action come back towards these MAs. After looking at the MAs, we did the weeklies, the dailies, the 4 hours, and the hourlies, and all look really nice. So let's zoom back out so we can see the whole history here again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this section right here. So then once I zoom in right here, then I'll zoom back out. But when I tighten this up, this is where we're going to be. So it looks like price has been going range bound, which is a good thing. It's building a base. So here is, I'll walk you through this. There's a couple ways we can do this, but I'll just do this first. Swing this over. But I also like this right here. So let's get a feel for how long this has been going range bound. Wow, so 35 days, almost call it 36 days. That's even more ideal. If you've watched any of my other prior videos, there's a saying out there, the bigger the base, higher in space. And this technically, I'll call this a nice base. 30 days, anything over 30 days is a good base. And remember, rectangles are typically continuation patterns. When I say typically, and right around 2/3% of the time, I definitely see this as a continuation pattern. And these are measured moves. So it's really simple. You take the top of the rectangle to the bottom of the rectangle, back out. And here's what I mean. This is a very crude example, but if we were to go from the top of this rectangle down to the bottom, and we were just to place it right up there, so this will be eventually where price will be heading, I would say pretty soon. So I'm going to zoom back out, but I like this a lot. I'm going to get rid of that. And then from where current price is right now, we've only got about 21% to get back to the all-time highs and above this neckline. The key thing is getting above this neckline. So I'm going to zoom back out so we can get the entire history. And you know how we were talking about how rectangles are measured moves? Well, the entire price action is embedded in a rectangle. So let me share with you. I'm going to get rid of this center line right there. So remember, everything down in here is stage 1, which is supported by this, again, this rectangle, as well as this inverse head and shoulders pattern, but I'm going to get rid of that. And TradingView just came out with a couple months ago this really cool new tool. It's for horizontal rectangles, per se. Yeah, so this is textbook. I just love this indicator. Again, just came out a few, let's say, months ago. But if you notice, it's got this blue line and this center line, which is called, I've got an orange color, this dotted line, and then you've got this, another blue line. But this is just a textbook how price action is respecting this, these channels within the channel. So you can see right here, price came down, respected it nicely. There's another touch, got snagged right there. We had a false breakout right there. And right here, price action got hung up. And then in this whole section, price looks like it was competing, not too sure what to do, and eventually just caved in and headed downward. But then also we've got this right here, which I like. And then also right here, remember how we were drawing this little mini channel? So this acted as overhead resistance right there. Then price pops through, and now this classic SR flip. So now this, which was resistance, is now acting as support. So love that a lot. So basically what this is doing, it's getting geared up. There's a lot of volatility building, so it can shoot to the upside. So now let's just focus on what's going on up here, and then we can wrap this up. So now I was saying these are measured move, these rectangles. So just imagine, I'm just going to slide this rectangle right above it. And this will literally act as a nice guide if you want to maybe take a screenshot of this for future price action. But then you remember those, this is a crude example, but let's do another example of a measured move for this rectangle. So it's going to go from the top of this channel down to the bottom, and I'm just going to swing this up there. Okay. So there's there's where we're eventually going. And this is what I love about price action and channels. When price finds the top, it will also find the bottom, but when it finds the bottom, it will also find the top. And the same goes for when price action gets up in here. So now I can't do anchored VWAPs on this exchange, crypto. None of the volume indicators work, so I'm going to skip all of the volume stuff. So if anybody's wondering how come I'm not doing any volume indicators, and again, that's just a feature of when you use the TradingView's historical graphs or charts. But for some reason, we just can't use any volume, and that makes sense, but it's a bummer. But then what I'll do is let's just overlay some fibs, and we can probably wrap this up. And I'm going to anchor the fib right here. These are the traditional horizontal fibs. I'm going to add in the 2 level. Yep, interesting. Oh, so interesting. Make this easier to see, and then we are almost ready to wrap it up. But take a look at this. Yeah, like that. So I've overlaid the fibs right there. So we anchored at this high down to this low, and here is the fib sequence right here. And then once you get price that breaks out above this neckline, in my opinion, what I've seen over the years of doing technical analysis, even in cryptos as well as even the TradFi markets, but price action, when price breaks above this neckline, this horizontal, there's a lot of volatility. And I'll share with you what I think price action will do. That's only like one of 3 things. But eventually, it's going to find the golden zone, the 1.618, which is $5.34. And at time of recording, price is at $1.22. And then even this 2 level is not out of the question. Why is that? Because remember, this is the top of the channel, and this is a measured move that we did down in this section, if you remember that. So even this 2 level is not out of the question. Very, very common. And in this coin, there's a lot of good sentiment behind it. So I could see this potentially reaching this level. But first things first, this is where I think price is going to be heading again in the first half of 2025, if not up to this $11.71 level. So let me walk you through. There's a couple different scenarios that we can have when price breaks out. So we can have price literally come up here and shoot up, and then we can come back down for a pullback, and then we can be on our way. That a little darker. Something like that. Or you can have price action come up here, and then we could go sideways. After these big explosive moves in crypto or even TradFi, things like to go range bound and typically sideways. And this is what really slows down our enthusiasm and tests our patience to the max. But anyways, once it goes range bound, then we could be on our way. Or, let me get rid of these, or here's the third way, or we just have price pop right up here, come back down for a retest on this blue line. And then we could be on our way to the 1.618. So there's a couple variations of how to get there. But what's exciting is if we were just to measure this, and this faint dotted line right in here, that's current price at time of recording. And if we were to measure that, that's about 343% move to that 1.618. And then if we get up here to that $11.71, again, remember, I really think this is in play. First things first, and I say this because some people will be like, well, this is crazy, but I remember buying Ethereum at $3 and watching it ride up to $1,400 before I knew it, and I never in my wildest dreams would imagine that. But anyways, at $11.71, that's 850 some percent. So last thing I'll say is that if anybody's interested in adding a position right now like a new position or adding to your existing bag, I would 1,000,000% wait until price gets above this neckline, which is right around $1.50-ish and change, because you literally don't know what could happen if price gets up here. It could easily get kicked back. It really could. That's why I would be patient and I would wait until price got above here. Again, A, if you're interested, or B, if you're going to add to your existing position. And I'd say the downside by doing this is, sure, you're going to miss some gains. It's about a 22%, but that's not much. Remember, if you buy above this neckline and you want to ride it up to that 1.618, that's a 254% move. So in my opinion, to each his own, but I would not be buying now, and I'd plan on missing out on that 22% move from current price to that neckline. So anyways, that is a wrap. This is a textbook. Absolutely love this altcoin. And cheers to you that are currently bag holders in this. You're going to absolutely love this. And just be patient. I've said this in prior videos. Just have some popcorn, relax. This is a beautiful setup, and I fully see this eventually here in Q1, end of Q1, at some point before we get into mid-2025. So May, June timeframe, you're going to be up in this section up here, if not up in this section up here. So a lot of goodness coming your way. All right, cheers. Thanks so much.